Why we should focus on ourself and why is this different from being self-centered and selfish. Good evening, everybody. My name is Aiden, and this is Remind Us. I had a long conversation with somebody very dear to me just tonight, and at the end I actually asked her, what would you like me to talk about on the video today? And that was her question, why we should focus on ourselves. And the first thing that I actually am going to say here is, as you progress through life, you're gonna more and more start to realize that everything that frustrates you is external of yourself. Yes, you can get frustrated with yourself too, of course. But a coworker annoyed you, traffic annoyed you, the weather annoyed you. It seems everything external is annoying us. A point in your life will come where you say, why? Why does everything frustrate me? Why does everything annoy me? And in the end, what's going to happen is you are going to turn within. You're going to start to focus on yourself. You're going to start looking for what is it in me that makes me irritated with that out there. And the more you focus on this, the more you will realize that it was never the outside world, it was always you that allowed the outside world to frustrate you. So, why should we focus on ourselves? Ultimately, we're looking for inner peace. We're looking to be in a state where nothing bothers us anymore. Now, I like how this person that posed the question to me actually added to it and said, why is this different from being self centered and uh, selfish? I have noticed that for myself. Randomly, somebody will say I'm a selfish person, and obviously, I'm not going to agree with that. I'm not going to confirm or deny his statement. When I hear something like that, I just realize this person doesn't know me and he is just throwing his judgment out for the world to hear. And if this would have happened, say, 10 years ago, I would have quickly felt a need to defend myself from an accusation, essentially. Somebody is accusing me of being selfish, and my ego wants to defend itself. You see, this is why it is important to work on you. The thing you're going to work on first, or mostly, I should say, is your ego. Everything you hold dear about yourself is ultimately a trigger. A trigger for what? A trigger for you to lose yourself when somebody points out the trigger. I'll tell you what. You're a person that always wants to look pretty. You always put on lots of makeup. You make sure you're impeccable. You check the mirror before you leave the house. How often do you see a woman in the parking lot of whatever grocery store before she gets out of the car, she'll quickly look in the mirror? Yes, we want to present ourselves at best in public or anywhere, really. Who doesn't want to look their best? Of course. But when somebody makes a remark about your physical appearance, you're going to be much more affected by that than a person that seemingly never puts on makeup. They just go through life, whatever way they look, that's the way they look. If somebody makes a comment to a person like that, they're going to be far less affected. So you see, this is your ego at work, essentially. You want to look your best, but if you take this so far that looking your best is a must for you, like nothing else will be right, this is something that can trigger you to fall down from your impeccable self. You are striving to appear impeccable, but the second somebody makes a remark, suddenly you're in complete disarray. So when you start focusing on yourself, every time you have an issue, and I just made one example of physical appearance, um, every time you start looking within yourself, one of the things you're going to ask yourself often is, why did that bother me? That person said something to me. I took that personal. I had an outburst because of it. Why? We're going to start turning into ourselves and investigate what is it actually that disturbs our inner peace. And we live in a world where the world just keeps happening to us, and that is why we almost never turn inside into our own psyche, into our own energy, because we seem to live in a world where everything appears to be external. Excuse me. And that is an illusion. However way you observe the world, that is entirely your doing. The world happens and you choose to take it personal. I've said this in other videos. Let me remind you again. Instead of saying that the world happens to you, consider that the world happens for you. You always have a choice. And if you take something personal, that was your choice. For a long time, I sought enlightenment. Like most people, I read several books. Most of us probably, if you're leaning spiritual, you probably heard of or read the autobiography of a yoga by Yogananda. That's not the only book I read. I read many more. I read all of the raw material, The Law of One, Set Speaks. Another book that I really enjoyed was Journey to Islam by Carlos Castaneda. Those are all very good books. And although not all of them speak about enlightenment, that is what you need to strive for, it took me a few years to realize I was just trying to look for inner peace. I was trying to look for, how can I always be me? How can I always be, some inner serenity? Like, it's very difficult to explain how I feel. And most spiritual people, we're just at peace with ourselves. No matter what surroundings we find ourselves in, we just feel at peace. Even in the worst chaos, people are yelling all around you, not at you, just around you. We're still at peace. We don't take the world personal anymore. It is happening for us, and we choose to just not be there. We are essentially invisible to this quote unquote chaos. How do we do that? Well, we took the time. Oh, excuse me, I was talking about that enlightenment thing, right? Let me finish that thought real quick. I was seeking this enlightenment thing because I read the word through several books, and kept seeing it over and over. And eventually, my ego said, yes, we're looking for enlightenment. We want to know everything. And ultimately, I just realized we're all enlightened, but we've been so distracted with the external world, we completely forgot about that. That's kind of how I see it now. All of us are godly beings, all of us come from the same source, but we're being distracted in an infinite amount of different things to keep us occupied. I've often wondered, is this by design? Is it by design we're being distracted from ourselves? I'm almost willing to just flat out say yes to that, because that's really how it appears. So, enlightenment, yes. I thought I was looking for that, but in the end, I just found inner peace instead. So, why should we focus on ourselves? If we start doing that, the end result will be an inner peace and confidence. Like, you're gonna be very confident with yourself. Almost nothing that anybody says, even if it is directed to you, is going to bother you anymore. You're just gonna maintain your composure. And I'm not even saying in your head where nobody can really see it, you're gonna hide behind the yeah, everything's great face. No, it is in your head, nothing else will be going on either. Like I said, I remember when I was younger and people said things that I felt insulted by, or any particular way towards their comment. I didn't even have to think. My ego just started defending itself, like, that's not true and you're a liar. These are the kind of things we say, and then we start stating a whole bunch of things to prove why they are wrong with their statement. This is the ego defending itself, and we have to ask, what is the ego? This video is not about the ego. It is why we should focus on ourselves. And eventually, yes, the ego is going to come into play here. But if you realize nothing that anybody does can affect you unless you allow that, inner peace is going to be a natural consequence. So, how can we do that? Turn within. Do you remember how children always ask everything and they start every sentence with why? You kind of have to go about it that way, but towards yourself. Why do I get frustrated when somebody makes a remark about my appearance? Why do I get frustrated when somebody gives me something I didn't ask for? Why do I get frustrated when somebody asks me for stuff and I don't even know the person? These are all defense mechanisms that are coming from within us. We are trying to defend ourselves from something that's not even real. For a long time in my youth, I used to lie to my mother. Like, I've already made a video about that. And I'm not saying that because I'm proud of it. I'm just saying I started looking within myself. Why did I have the need to lie? So, why should we focus on ourselves? Let me just make an example out of myself here. I used to lie because I thought back then it would keep me out of trouble. And the video that I made about lying, I realized later I never said the word in there that I should have said the loudest. If you lie and somebody figures it out, you're going to lose one huge thing: trust. People will stop trusting you. And this seems to be an energy that just permeates around you. Like, as soon as people start to know you, they're going to start feeling there is something off about you. And it is, I cannot trust you. It's that feeling. So, when I started to look within myself, I started wondering. Evening, Reverend John Walker. I hope you're doing okay, brother. I started to wonder, why do I start lying by default instead of just saying the truth? Just state the facts the way they are. I thought if I lied, I would spare people's feelings and I wouldn't be in any trouble whatsoever. As long as the lie worked, this was true. But a lie has zero facts behind it. It is not hard to poke holes in a lie. And once enough holes are poked, everybody loses their trust. And when I did all the looking inside, I actually came to a conclusion. If I lie and you figure it out, not only do you lose your trust in me, you are automatically from now on going to question everything that I say, because you've proven to yourself I'm a liar. So from now on, how can you trust anything I say? That's a perfectly normal response, right? From my perspective, I was trying to spare everybody's feelings by lying. So when I went inside myself and I'm like, okay, let's just take the subject of lying. Why did I do this? I just gave you a simple, short explanation I'm sure most people can relate to. Here is where I came out of this search. Now I either speak the truth or I keep my peace. What do I mean by that? I choose silence. The further spiritual I get, I realize words are completely, I don't want to say obsolete, but almost unnecessary. If I can say to you that I care about you, or I can live in a manner that is very visibly caring about you. Which would you prefer? If you had to choose between one or the other, would you like that I behave in a caring way? Like, I'll cook you dinner, I'll give you a back rub. I'm going to live and act nice towards you. Or would you just prefer I say, I care about you, I care about you. Can you help me tie my shoe because my back hurts? No, no, I don't want to get up. But I care about you. You see, words are easy, actions, not so much. What does it have to do with what was the end result of me looking within myself while lying is something that I do a lot, and what I was doing in my life. I realized that I wasn't intentionally hurting people by lying. I just thought that was a normal thing to do back then. It's just occurred to me that way. Now I realize everybody is different, first of all. I mean, that's just how it is on earth. But I also realized I want to stay true to myself. Trust takes time and hard to earn, and 2 seconds to lose forever. Exactly. Earning a person's trust takes time, but it can be gone within seconds. That's a comment from Reverend John Walker. I agree with that completely. I'm a little bit different now that I'm on my spiritual lifestyle, let's call it that. I trust people right away, but like you said, I will give up that trust almost immediately. As a matter of fact, we have expectations from people. We expect people to speak the truth. Are they going to do it? Don't know. Like I said, you have to poke a hole in the story to figure out whether or not something was a lie. Or you have to expend your energy to investigate, was he truthful? And I have lost that need too. I, in a way, no longer care whether a person is a liar or honest with me. The second I feel you are becoming a burden to me, and you asking me for help, that is not a burden. If I feel like I need to start investigating things that you say just to make sure I can trust you, that's just not right to me. And it's no longer important. If you think lying to me is important to you, I'll just take you at face value. But sooner or later, you're going to fall through the floor. And guess what? The truth will reveal itself on its own. Zero effort expended on my part. um, so that's a weird approach I'm taking, right? But it's more, I just don't want to, I don't care anymore in a sense. I know. And in the description of this video, I said, why is this different from being selfish and self centered? I've noticed that people that are very spiritual and they have put time and effort into working on themselves, fixing themselves. I'm not saying anybody is broken. I'm just saying, why do things bother you randomly? Look at that, investigate it, and get rid of that garbage. Why are your physical looks so important, but the second somebody comments on it, you feel like crap about everything? You see, if you're sitting on a throne, it only takes one push and you're on the ground. It's almost like I learned to sit on the ground or lay flat on the ground even and observe the whole world instead of like, this is my throne, nobody can touch me here. You start to lose the need to defend you from anything really. And I think I'm kind of came off of my subject. You see, I chose to. I'm getting back on my subject before I lose that train of thought. I realized I'm gonna always speak the truth, and I also realized that me speaking my truth might hurt somebody else's feeling, or and it could also project that I'm a genuine person. I cannot promise you that the things that I say to you will or will not hurt your feelings. But I realize that is, in a way, not my problem. Again, if you take your physical appearance so serious and I accidentally say something about your physical appearance, like say I comment your hair while you put lots of time in your lipstick and your eyebrows, making them look perfect, you might feel a slight pinch of Jeez, he didn't even pay attention to my eyebrows and my lips because he commented on my hair instead. Yasmin is commenting, is speaking the truth always relevant and necessary? If you ask me, yes. I find speaking the truth is relevant in the sense of, I don't like the word karma, but if I speak lies, now I feel I am causing a baggage, not even to the people that I'm lying to, but to myself as well. I've made a video in the past about why lying is not a good idea. And it's just that. As soon as you start speaking lies, you have to memorize your own lies, because every time somebody starts talking to you regarding something you lied about, you need to keep recalling your lies. So that is actually a self created pile of baggage that you have to maintain. So is speaking the truth always relevant and necessary? So you see, that's one example why I chose to just no longer lie. I cannot protect everybody's feelings. People will get hurt. Am I doing it intentionally? Not at all. So is speaking the truth necessary always? I don't know why, but this quote pops in my head. Only if what you're about to say is more beautiful than silence, hold your peace. What that is saying, if you feel like speaking the truth is going to be an utter disaster, maybe just hold your peace, hold your silence. You have the right to say nothing, and I'm not talking about a court sitting here like you have the right to remain silent. No, you can literally choose not to say something to a person. But what if the facts we are stating are true but not necessary to mention? If you feel you must state facts that are not necessary to mention, I almost want to say this is ego at play still. It's almost like as if we are trying to make ourselves relevant, and we feel that if we keep our silence, we might not be perceived as relevant in the room. You have to find a little bit of a balance here. I answered you, thanks. You're welcome, Yasmin. That is kind of what I do. I often had that struggle too. Say you have a small group of friends and subjects are coming up that you really enjoy, and you've been sitting there quietly. I will still maintain sitting there quietly. I rather hear the thoughts of others. And again, I'm not even worried in this. When I'm just listening and observing, that is something that I do the most. I'm not even worrying about, are they lying, are they truthful. I am just listening, observing, watching all the interaction, the facial expressions. That is huge for me. I don't know why. Like I've said it before, I'm 50% deaf. Maybe is that why I'm more focused on the emotional energy in the air. But yes, I no longer even care if they're speaking the truth or not. Even if I know it's a lie, I hold my peace. You could argue, well, a person is saying lies to other people that you know. Shouldn't you at least protect your friends from these lies? That's a good point. But still, I maintain my peace. My friends have the free will to accept that story or, excuse me, call bullshit on that story. You see, everybody has that free will, whether that person spoke the truth or a lie. The only way to verify it is start poking the story, and I don't even care for that anymore. Like whatever a person says to me, I realize first of all I don't have to take it personal. That is the biggest thing all of us need to learn in this world. No matter what happens around you, stop taking it personal. Our life happens to us, right? So we should take everything personal. Yes, again, you have a choice here. The world happens to you or the world happens for you. If it happens to you, it sounds like you had no choice in the matter. It happened to you, you took it personal, now you got to deal with whatever you're feeling and thinking towards whatever happened. If it happened for you, you literally have the choice to turn around and walk away like nothing ever happened, like nothing was ever said, especially to you. Reverend Sean Walker, like everything else, use judgment. They're what you call omissions. Keep information back to spare feelings. Yes, omitting, you could do that to spare feelings. I don't even think I do that. I kind of said it a few minutes ago. I feel like me saying I care about a person is vastly different than me living in that precise manner. When I live in a way that is caring towards you, I can almost live in complete silence because you know, I hate this quote quite a bit because it's become a meme all over Facebook for people that have lost their relationship or their feelings are hurt. Shoot, I just lost a meme in my head, but what was it? I miss. Mm. Sometimes people state facts, but they are deliberately changing the topic of conversation or exposing someone else. Or does the intention behind it matter? Sometimes people state facts, but they are deliberately changing the topic of conversation or exposing some. See, that is honestly that comment from Yasmin is honestly the reason why I chose to make a YouTube channel. I have noticed the very same thing. When people talk, how often are they speaking in deep personal thoughts about themselves, about their issues, their experiences? Usually it's gossiping in one way or another. And who are they gossiping about? About themselves? Well, no, you always gossip about everybody except yourself. Why? Because we are trying to protect ourselves. If we speak about someone that's not present, we even feel like we're protecting that person because they're not here, their feelings are not going to get hurt. Well, I'm sorry, what goes around comes around, word travels around, and again, everybody is in chaos and disarray. Sean Walker, Yasmin, intention is everything. Why we do anything, I find holding a caring stance keep my intention pure as possible. I completely agree. I'm the same way. I live my intentions, but I don't necessarily verbalize them. I want to make a video soon on I'm gonna have a talk about this with Sean Walker on communication. Just me speaking and you listening, does that constitute communication? I'm gonna flat out say no, it does not. There has to be comprehension on both parties of what is being said, spoken, heard, and interpreted, because that's the biggest problem that we have. When somebody speaks, you can have 10 different people listening. When you ask them an hour later, what did you hear? Lo and behold, all 10 people interpreted your words different. So that's why I want to do a video on communication. That is a huge problem on our planet, and yet we pride ourselves about speaking to others somehow. Communication, again, I'm going to remind you, I love living my intentions rather than verbalizing them. So man, I'm completely losing my train of thought between the chat and my own thoughts here. But yeah, it's so let me actually try to jump on the topic of why is this different from being self-centered and egotistical and selfish. You see, a selfish person and a self-centered person cares about nobody but themselves. Now you could say spiritual people are the same way. We only care about ourselves. I can see why most people would think it appears that way, because yes, in the external world it is very hard to differentiate. But somebody who wants to work on themselves knows that the problem is within them, and they have to turn within to find what triggers them every time something is wrong. So how could I say that in words? Me. Now I know I'm the problem. So this is all about me. Yes, but you see, if I were to take this into a conversation in a group, it's gonna make it look self-centered because I'm drawing all the attention to me. Like, I hate it when this, I love it when that. It's about me, and I'm verbalizing it to other people. This is something you need to do almost in silence. If silence is difficult for you, grab a pen and paper, write down what bothers you. It might actually help you, let go of some of these things. But when you work on yourself like that, you're gonna slowly feel things that used to bother you. You're still gonna feel something when these same things occur, but you're going to notice you recover much faster. You find your inner peace much faster, and before you know it, nothing will trigger you anymore. I make this sound like it's a 5-minute process. This can take months. For most people, it takes years. I told you guys, for me, it started around age between 20 and 25. I read so much material. And then from age 25 to 30, I started actually implementing it. And now I'm 38. So for almost 10 years, I've been living completely different. And here's the funny fact: when somebody says something that could trigger me, some very, very tiny voice in my head is like, in the past, this used to piss you off. Do something. But I maintain inner peace. And no, I am not even fighting off an urge to do something, an urge to defend myself. I'm not fighting off anything. I remain at inner peace. It is almost like somewhere in my memory, I can recall who I was. But since I live in the present, I know who I am now. I am me, and nothing anybody does or says is allowed to push me out of me being me. I draw the conclusion from your words that selfish people have double standards. Plus, self centered people don't have inner peace, at least from what I have noticed. Yes, that is kind of what I'm touching on in my own words, I guess. It is exactly that. Selfish people don't have inner peace, and everything that they do is for selfish needs and desires. When a person wants to work on themselves, they want to improve their inner state. That doesn't necessarily mean at the expense of others, because be careful if you want to work on yourself but you have responsibilities in the world still. Say you are married, you have a partner, you might have kids. You can't just run away from your responsibilities and start living like you're meditating in a cave where the world is off limits to you. You do this with responsible timing. If you have kids, maybe wait until they went to bed. If you are married, maybe wait until all your marital chores are done. I don't like the word chores. Responsibilities, maybe. I don't know. So I was fortunate, I should say, that I drive a big rig for a living. So 10 hours of 10 of my waking hours a day are spent alone, and it gave me essentially infinite time to for me to inner reflect like everything that's bothering me and kind of let it all come out. And even that is actually a hard process for some people. You are going to delve into your past occasionally. I've said it in other videos. I had my own personal bully when I was growing up, and yes, for many years that troubled me. Like, but now I'm in a mind state where I realize that person was just another thing that occurred in my life. I don't need to feel any particular way towards it. And if I do, what is actually going on? What if I still feel a particular way towards my bully? Something completely undesirable. I'm giving that bully still power. He has been gone for 20 years. If he is still bothering me now, that means he still has power over me. So you see, when we're working on ourselves, we're actually making sure that we take back our own power. Everyone that has ever bothered us has a form of power over us. It is invisible, I know. But every time that person speaks to you, that power over you will present itself as well. What kind of power are we talking about? Again, someone that can push you out of your mental inner peace. That means that person has a power over you. Is that something that you want? I don't. I always like to feel like myself, and for me, that is feeling at peace. I mean, I don't want to speak things in existence, but if you were to put me in the middle of a war, I really wonder if I'm actually going to get panicked. Am I going to get frantic, afraid of my life, things like that? Like, I like to think I'm living in more of a Zen state. I'm not going to say my Zen state is perfect and permanent, no, but that's what I'm working towards. I'm always striving towards making sure I feel at inner peace. And here is the beauty: once you find your inner peace, this becomes an invisible energy that you radiate out. I randomly have people tell me that I make them feel peaceful. And here's the funny part: again, I don't say a single word. No conversation going on. I will just pass someone on the street and they're like, wow, you really give off a peaceful energy, a very comforting, relaxing, soothing energy. Who does that? Who says that to a random stranger on the street? You know what? It happens to me quite a bit. At first, it baffled me. I'm like, why? What's going on here? And then I finally realized when I take back all my power, I become a powerhouse. Again, I can now exert forces on other people. No, this is all my power. I took it back. I cut off all the ties from the past, things that bothered me. I looked like lying, for example. It was a tie towards my past. I no longer care to lie. I care to speak the truth, or I care to keep my silence. Be at peace with myself, say nothing, choose the silence over the words, and live the action that you want to be. So that is another aspect of why it is important that we work on ourselves. As long as other people, quote unquote, work on us, we're never going to be free from all these things. I agree. Yes. So I can easily see why we appear like we're selfish and, all these undesirable things towards others. But that's what I was touching on. Once we feel very at peace with ourselves, and it becomes incredibly hard for other people to stump us out of this inner peace. Um, we're skilled at. I have the same skill. I'd like to do a video with you explaining how to achieve it. Yeah, absolutely. See, that was a comment by Reverend John Walker, by the way, if you're just listening to the video. I have met people that have personally asked me, how do you do that? And what can I do to be more like you? And that's one of these things that's very difficult to explain. Like, it appears like this is a natural state. And if you ask me, it is. This should be all of us our natural state. But when you are in constant depression, anxiety, and disarray, every time somebody says something personal to you and you walk away like someone knocked you off your horse, work on that. This means these people have power over you. Do you want that? No. So, okay, what do you need to do? Work on yourself. How do I do that? How do I find inner peace? If I had to put it in a nutshell, it sounds ridiculous, but here's my answer: forget everything. I really mean that. You see, our ego is mostly based on the past and the future. It knows what happens in the past and it will pretend to protect us from it. Same for the future. We think we have some idea who we want to be in the future. We want to have more money. We want a better house. We want to live in a better country. Our ego is in charge of all of these things. Once you find inner peace, you're going to realize all your thoughts are irrelevant. Irrelevant. I really mean that. So when I say forget everything if you want to find inner peace, that is the shortest explanation that I can give you, but I'm trying to explain why I say that, and it's literally what I just said. Your ego is linked to your memory and our ability to project back and forth in time, and as soon as something falls out of line with these projections, we're going to lose our inner peace. So if you were to forget everything, that means your ego no longer has the food to operate the way it does. That is the simplest and shortest explanation I can give you, and I get it. Everyone's going to say, well, I don't want to forget my past. It's not quite like that, but yes, at the same time, it is. You know, if things trigger you, they trigger you because something in the past happened. You got emotionally very attached to that thing that happened. You see, everything starts in a memory, no matter how far away it is. That could possibly even unknowingly a memory from another lifetime. We're not aware of it, but it is affecting us to this day. We need to somehow find a way to disconnect from all our triggers. Where are these triggers based? In our memory, and our ego will keep them alive. Yasmin says, ego is the downfall for many, especially the education and enlightened and spiritual ones. I agree. As it's I think I've said it in other videos before. Humans have the capacity to think, but we actually have never learned how to truly think. When we go to school, they cram our memory full of things, and we consider that thinking. If I have to memorize things, if I have to recall things later, we consider that to be thinking. I'm not so sure I agree with that anymore. Nicely done, Yasmin. Feel great, doesn't it? Try it more often, but be careful not to come across it as a doormat. Oh, Reverend Sean Walker said that. I'm glad I read that. Yes, that is another problem you're going to encounter in your spiritual journey. When you start the work on yourself, a point will come where you realize that we are all one. I know that's a quote that's being said a lot, but it is true. We are all one. We are all striving to become our best version. A point will come where you realize that helping others helps you too. It's a little bit like karma. What you put out in the world comes back to you. So if you do good to others, good will come to you as well. I don't like that thing too much because it's almost like you're only going to do good to make sure good comes to you. Again, we're looking from a self-centered point here. Don't do good to expect good in return. Do good because you think it's the right thing to do. That's a little bit different. That way you don't expect some form of payment for I'm gonna do good to you, but make sure you remember that because I'm gonna need you in the future. You know? The universe will take care of you. So what does it have to do with the doormat? When people figure out that you are trying to help and be nice and kind and loving to everybody, they're going to start abusing that. They're going to come for you for everything. Like, if they think you have it and they can use it, they're going to come ask you for it because why? They expect you're going to say yes because that is your new inner philosophy, essentially. Be careful with that. So, I struggle with that a little bit too. I needed to learn to say no to people. That was difficult at first. Eventually, I came to a very simple realization. If I help everybody until I can no longer help anybody, including myself, what good did I do? You want to try and find a good equilibrium. You want to be nice and kind to people, but when somebody says, "Give me $100 every 5 minutes," your money is gonna be gone before the day is over. You see, you can't just blindly help everybody you want. Yes, that would be amazing if you could, but keep yourself afloat too in this process. And afloat doesn't sound good, right? It sounds like you're barely surviving. Great, that's not really what I want you to do. I don't want you to barely survive. I want you to be your best version first before you go back into the world and help other people's with their struggles. I said it in other videos. That's actually the reason I chose to make a YouTube channel. I love deep thinking, not only for myself, but I want to help people with their struggles. Most of us, we struggle with things that are in our head. Am I saying they're imaginary? Not necessarily. I know they happened in your past, but they left such a strong emotional pressure on you. You no longer know how to deal with that. So I like to help people by, first of all, listening to them. Zero judgment, by the way. Another quality I lost. If you want to wonder whether you can trust a person or not, that's almost the same as judging. I'm again, I've lost all these qualities. There is no actual selfless act. There is always a reason why we do things. And if you look at it closely, it's always self serving. It's a sad truth. I hear your statement and I read it slowly to make sure I really felt what you're saying here. Yes, and yet when I do something nice for a person, I don't expect anything in return. I'm not even, some small bulb in my head is not going off saying, God is always watching, make sure you do the right thing right here. So even if there is no reward expected, I'm still acting and operating in a sense of God is watching, do the right thing, come on. No. And yet at the same time, I get what you're saying. Yes, there is always some small form of self-centeredness going on behind every good act that we do. I'll tell you something that happens to me quite a bit. I live in the capital of a state, and I don't know why, but there's quite a bit of homeless people around here, and they are always standing on the corners of the street with a cardboard sign in front of them: "Help homeless, anything is appreciated." I have actually stopped next to these people and said, "Hey, can I buy you a hamburger or something?" Whatever store they happen to be near, like, "Hey, can I buy you something food? Because I'm getting out for my lunch too." No matter the answer, here is the one thing that I sometimes quietly hope for. Can we have a conversation while you are eating the burger or whatever you would like me to buy for you or consuming? Why? That has more to do with my curiosity. I know my life, and although you appear to be homeless here, I don't think you are less than me. I don't think you have less than me. I mean, sure, I can get my brain completely involved, and yes, my life is way better than yours. But you see, again, that's ego talking. I'm better than you. No, this is another human being. I'm just a human being. I'm just in a position where I can help that human being because I'm taken care of for myself right now. Here is the one thing that I hope for in situations like that. Can we have a good conversation? And can you tell me about yourself? Because I have never been homeless. I'm not sure I want to experience it, but I would love to hear your perspective on your side of life. I don't hope I ever have to experience homelessness, but at the same time, I would love to hear this person's story on how he is doing. So let me catch up on all the comments here real quick. Self serving, even if it only gives us mental or emotional or spiritual satisfaction. Hmm. But you feel good? Yes, that's absolutely right, Yasmin. Hey, you'll fit in well around here. Great. I'm glad you two are hitting it off in a good conversation. Awesome. I should just stick to my own story here instead of reading the conversation between you two because it keeps getting distracting. But yeah, honestly, I feel like I've been all over the place tonight, but I'm glad there was a good chat going on at the same time. So work on yourself. Don't worry what other people think of you too much. Just know when you call a pot, should the pot feel insulted? The pot calls the kettle black. They're both black. You see, words are so, I don't want to say meaningless, but they just put us in a state so often that is completely random. Like, well, it's not random. We allow these words to trigger something in us. Why? Okay, sometimes we do something because it's the right thing to do, but it won't make us feel good. What about that? That has actually happened to me a few times. One of the easiest things I can actually think of is if I have been feeling down for several days, and again, I'm going to pick the example of a guy on the side of the road or a woman, begging for whatever money, food. I've been feeling down and low, and maybe I was looking for some company. No particular kind of company. It's just conversation, something useful. And here I see a person in need. Again, myself will immediately, this person needs help, you can help him right now. Some other side of me goes, well, you're lonely too. Boom, here's the potential for company. And yet somehow, even if I just buy them some food and walk away, I feel not fulfilled. Why is this? Good point. I will leave that to Aiden. I think it is because we are not completely happy with ourselves. When we do something nice for people, especially when you're already on your spiritual path, you don't necessarily expect anything in return. And at the same time, if you're feeling low energy or whatever, and you help somebody, some small part of you probably hoped it would pick up your mood a little bit. Why does that not happen? Your mood is low. Simple as that. You need to work on your own mood first. I always like to say, help nobody if you cannot help yourself first. That's it's a simple airplane scenario. When an airplane goes down, do you put masks on everybody and yourself last? No. Help yourself first and then help the other people with their oxygen masks. I'm sure that's self-explanatory why you should do it that way and not the other. Actually, that's a great example why you should not be a doormat or a pushover in any too helpful, essentially too nice and too helpful. If you're that selfless, and that's actually a great quality to have, if you're that selfless, you're gonna put a mask on everybody before you mask yourself. You're only gonna help a limited amount of people. How so? Well, you don't have oxygen. You're helping other people with their oxygen, but once you fall over, everybody else is back on their own. You see, help yourself, and now you could theoretically help the entire airplane if need be, several hundred people possibly. So, why doesn't it always make us feel good when we help somebody? Again, we have an issue within ourselves. Again, focus on you. Why you're not feeling fulfilled. I'm not asking why you're not feeling fulfilled after you just helped somebody. No. What short, just keep this about yourself. Why are you not feeling fulfilled? Why are you not at peace? Thank you, Yasmin. She said she agrees completely with my statement. So, yeah, that is pretty much most of what I came up with. Why we should focus on ourselves. But yeah, it's really work on yourself, and nothing else can ever touch you again. It's a very simple principle, and I get it. Most of us struggle with it. Why? Because we are still stuck in ego, stuck in thoughts, stuck in anything except the now. How many of us can just appreciate the now? The situation around you. Can you just sit there and accept everything the way it is? So that is why it's important to focus on yourself first. And I'm not saying it's The Power of Now. It's a book by Eckhart Tolle. I read that one too. If you struggle with your life, don't just sit there and focus on just the now and think you are at peace. This is just a temporary illusion. The second you go back out in the world, something small and stupid will knock you off your rocker, and boom, the moment is gone, right? I think that's why most people actually struggle with meditation. It's like, let me be at peace for the next 15 minutes, and then I'm going back out there, middle finger to the person that cut you off in traffic, a couple of cuss words to your boss because you don't like him or her. Finding inner peace doesn't work like that. You just don't dedicate 10-20 minutes of your day to have inner peace and then just consume the world as usual. Not really. You want to find a state that is sustainable, really. uh Yasmin, could you give an example of people that teach something but act otherwise? Is it ego or is it selfishness? Let me think if I can come up of an example. I'm actually recalling our phone conversation, and I think I have a feeling. I feel I know where you're coming from with that question, but I don't think it is appropriate to bring that up on this channel. Um, Could you give an example of people that teach something but act otherwise? I mean, I'm thinking for an example, but the first word that actually comes to mind is disingenuine. People like that just don't feel genuine. I preferably look for teachers that I'll give you. Okay, I just found a very simple example. We now live in a world where we have millions of choices on how we can live. I'm going to pick the example of simply this vegetarianism. Vegetarians supposedly do not eat meat. And they will educate you on all the reasons why you should not eat meat. It hurts the animals. Our body is not really meant to, process and digest meat. And they'll tell you how much they are vegetarian, and then you accidentally show up at their house one day during dinner time, and what do you see? The grill is lit up, and everyone is enjoying their steak and chicken and burgers, whatever. Mm. So why are they doing this? Right? Because that was the question: is this ego? Is this selfishness? I think these people got stuck somewhere along the path of finding themselves. Because I will say the same thing. A vegan diet is very healthy, but I myself eat meat still. Am I eating it daily? No. Am I eating too much of it? Probably no, too. But I eat meat. And yet I will preach eat vegetables, eat fruit. They are the best thing for you, and nuts too. But you won't hear me say meat quite easily. Why? Because I don't think that's necessary in our diet. And again, that's a dangerous statement because yes, protein this and we need certain fats, the good cholesterol or whatever, LDL, LDH. um, but you see, there is a difference between living your words and just speaking your words. Remember earlier I said instead of saying to people that I care about them, I rather live that way. I live and care about you as I live. This is similar. If I tell you be a vegan, be a vegetarian because meat eating is bad, it makes you age faster, whatever, and now you show up at my home and what do you see? The grill is lit up. You, I'm probably going to fall much lower on your scaling of how you feel about me, right? After witnessing that. Anyway, I was saying, I think these are people that got stuck on their path to self-discovery. Maybe you were eating the normal American diet. I know you don't live in America. I'm just making an example here. Maybe you were just eating the normal American diet. Lots of salt on everything, lots of fried foods everywhere. Americans love meat too, by the way. I mean, grilling is a big thing in America. But I lost my train of thought again. My goodness. Um, yeah, right. You come to my home and I fall down in what you appreciate about me. I think these people were on the path to self discovery. Like, let me be better for myself. But then they fell back into their old habits, but their thinking is still on the path to being better. So this is a difference between thinking and acting. I'm trying to pick my words a little bit more thoughtful because I know why you asked the question, Yasmin. You see, I think this person had good intentions when they started their path, but somewhere along the line they lost the reason why they chose the path, and they are physically still, they went back to their old habits while preaching the good habits. So is that disingenuine behavior? You speak good things but you're living not the way you're speaking. That's maybe not disingenuous, but at least be open to people when you do it like that. I myself do the same thing. I know vegan is the healthiest choice you can make, and yet I'm a meat eater. So I'm never gonna tell people I eat vegetables all the time. I never eat anything that ever lived, or had a heartbeat, I should say. I'm not like that. I like to be genuine. So did that make sense a little bit? It's their old way of they had a life before, then they suddenly had a some small awakening. They wanted to live better and more thoughtful and more in tune with themselves. Lost track of it somewhere. Their thoughts stayed there, but their actions went back to the past or their old habits. So, man, the chat is active here. Let me. It's So in a way, Yasmin, is this a self-serving thing versus knowledge? I would say the person is trying to share the good knowledge, but if they're just gonna continue doing their old habits while preaching better ways of living, I personally would not. I don't want to say I don't want to listen to a person like that, because I will listen to everybody. Like, everybody can get my ear if you're being genuine about yourself, but I prefer a person that lives his own words. It feels more connected that way. It just feels more realistic. Like, I don't even know. Like, when a person says one thing but he doesn't other, that's usually something that we see often, especially in relations. Like, yes, I'll do the dishes, and you walk away instead. You don't do anything. I mean, silly example, right? But we just don't like people like that, because your words and your actions need to match for things to stay whole. Like, I don't know. It's like you're living two lives. One is the words, the other one is the actions. And I personally I've chosen to make my actions louder than words. That was the quote that I couldn't come up with earlier. Actions speak louder than words. I've actually had partners in the past, they actually said I'm a horrible communicator, and maybe they meant it in one of two ways. Maybe I choose my words poorly, which is a problem that I have, because English is not my first language. I do my best to learn new words all the time, but yes, I know sometimes I know I'm saying the wrong word, but because I don't know the correct word, I'm just using a whole bunch of words around the correct word, except the one word I can't think of. So in that way, am I a bad communicator? Maybe, but I do my best to explain myself in as much detail as I can. And yet, I like to just live how I feel inside. It just seems way more easy. It feels way more genuine. I'm naturally not a big talker. Surprised, because I always felt like I needed to make a YouTube channel, and it's here now, and I'm actually enjoying it. But it's still a work in progress for me, because my vocabulary is limited, and I can feel it. I get stuck sometimes in my own sentences, because I know a word should be here. I can think of it fast enough, and I lose my train of thought in that process too. Uh, excuse me one second. Let me go through these comments real quick. Is the old saying, practice what you preach. Yeah, exactly. Practice what you preach, Sean Walker. Or they don't believe in what they're saying. See, that's another good point. Is the scenario that I just spoke about, vegetarian, and then you catch them eating meat. Um, don't they believe in what they're saying? I don't necessarily think that's true. I think they believe that what they're saying is right, but hmm, or they don't believe in what they're saying. I think they what they say, they believe in it. It's just it's like me saying smoking is bad. Next thing you know, I light up a cigarette. You see, that's kind of like that. Do I believe that I should just keep smoking, or that it's fine? Well, no, I know it's a bad habit, but when I'm ready to quit the habit, I'm gonna put effort in it. I'm not gonna broadcast it to the world. Everybody, I'm quitting smoking. Support me in this, do that. Again, this is my problem, nobody else's. Yes, it's your problem if I blow the smoke in your face, something I don't do. But you see, if I say smoking is bad, don't start, and I pretend I'm not even a smoker, then we're off track again. This is my personal struggle, and I will deal with it when I'm ready. So you see, Yasmin, rule of thumb. This is Sean Walker speaking. Be honest with yourself. Believe in what you believe. Suggest, not preach to others. We can all be wrong sometimes. Yes, that is another big tip here from Sean Walker, and I do this myself. Do not preach to others what they should and shouldn't be doing. suggest, and I focus hard on this channel from my point of view here. I will tell you what I do, and if I don't do it, I will present it to you as a suggestion. But I will never tell you if X is your problem, then Y is by default not only the solution, but the only solution. Most people, when they speak, that is actually how they speak. They will tell you exactly how and when and where and who should fix your issue. But I want you to, again, keep this in mind. No matter what anybody says, this is their opinion. And you don't even have to say to their face, I don't like your words. I'm not going to do any of that. No, just listen to it. It makes that person feel appreciated. They got to tell you how they would solve your problem if it was their problem. So they feel appreciated. They feel like they helped you. Even if you do not pick up the suggestion, just listen to them for a minute. But yes, everything you hear from other people, consider it to be a suggestion. It can never be anything more than that. This is what I keep saying. The world doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Everything a person says, you have a choice. In this case, choose to see everything you hear from other people as suggestions, and you get to choose. If something resonates with you, try it. If something doesn't resonate with you, listen to it and let it go. Don't take it personal. Don't insult the person because what they said was nonsense. No, just let that go. That person feels better because they got to say something that felt relevant for a minute. Now let it go. Choose what works for you and let the rest go. Simple as that. It makes sense, Aiden. It means sometimes the temptations of the easy way are stronger. The satisfaction of being focused and true to ourselves. Yes, that is personally how I feel. I feel staying true to myself is a satisfaction to me. And again, it sounds like I'm speaking about a reward. If I'm true to myself when I'm interacting with other people, I'm rewarding myself. Really, that's kind of what it sounds like. It's really not. It is more. It keeps me with my inner peace. Again, if I'm disingenuine, I am in a way. It's not flat out lying. Again, if I say eat vegetarian, it's healthy for you. Am I lying? Well, no. That's a well known fact. But it's a statement I don't like to make because I'm not a vegetarian myself. If anything, I might just suggest eat healthy. You see, I'm not even saying what you should eat. I'm actually telling you have a look around and study what is healthy. What should we be eating versus what are we eating? You're doing great, brother. Your English is very fantastic. Thank you. I like to think my English is good considering it's not my first language, but my vocabulary is what I'm talking about. Like words that describe feelings, for example, like sadness, sorrow, like those are simple examples. I can think of them, but the vocabulary has probably several hundred words that describe all sorts of different feelings. And I think for me, again, the reason why I'm not so nose deep in a dictionary is, again, I'm kind of living how I feel. I don't necessarily need to verbalize it anymore. That's probably another reason why my vocabulary is expanding at a much slower rate than it used to. Another thing that is not contributing, which used to be a big contributor, I don't watch much television anymore. So that's usually a place where you hear lots of words no one's ever heard before. I don't want to get into politics, but I remember the first time I heard the word deplorable. So I'm like, what? What's a deplorable? So that's not even a feeling. That's more of a physical thing. But it's like that. There's so many words in the dictionary. Either I've never heard them or I never understood what they meant, and they would be of great use in my videos, obviously. So since Yasmin is in the chat, today's video was her suggestion. I would love to give you a shout out there, Yasmin, because I really did appreciate your suggestion, especially since I had talked on the phone to you for more than, I don't know, probably 2 hours. How long was that conversation? So it was perfectly in line with where my thoughts already were for this evening. So she suggested why we should focus on ourselves and why this is different from being self centered and selfish. So I'm glad I did a video on that. I think I had already other videos that kind of leaned on the topic. Like, I think I have another video on how to stay centered, and I think the thumb tag is literally my hand in the middle of my face. Sean Walker, I'm a poet and I struggle finding words to explain accurately. You're not on your own, brother. I hear you, man. And I don't know if it's because I'm alive and I'm trying to continuously speak and stay in thoughts. When I read somebody else's words, I find it much easier not to criticize, but I find it much easier to sometimes see that this word, I can tell how you're feeling with this whole sentence, but this one word feels a little out of place. I suggest that you could replace it with this word, maybe. Like, what do you think about this word instead of the word you used? So, you see, I'm not going to say your sentence is stupid unless you change this word. No, I'm saying I hear what you're feeling when you say this sentence. Can I just suggest maybe this word instead of that? There is a big chance if you suggest things like that to other people, they're going to be far more accepting of your suggestion rather than you first insulting the idea and then on top of that paste what you think should be there instead. That's something else you could actually work on. Know that what you say to other people, accept that they don't have to accept your words. Again, anything you say is also a suggestion to other people. Again, this is a form of focusing on yourself. You're going to realize that whatever is true for you is true for you. And in that process, you're going to also see what is true for others might not be true for you, or the other way around. What is true for your neighbor might be also true for you. You can have an easy conversation that way. But when people are nothing like you, don't force yourself upon them. Just speak what's on your mind and let it go. Don't worry about whether they accepted it or thought it was bullshit. Really, don't worry about that. Just speak what is on your mind and let it all go. Simple as that. Yasmin typing, you are multilingual, Aiden. Multilingual people have a vast amount of words to choose from, so it may take a moment or two to choose which word to select. That was actually a big struggle when I just moved to America. Somebody long ago actually asked me a very intriguing question. They said, you speak English, but what language do you think in? And it blew my mind somebody actually considered that there might be a difference between what I think and what I say. And at that time, yes, I would speak English, but I would think in Dutch. That was fascinating. She actually saw that and asked the question back then. Um, how am I doing with that now? I think I speak and think and reason in English. The one thing where my mind will still easily resort back to Dutch for some weird reason is numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bam, there you got, 1 to 10 in Dutch. Whenever I'm doing math in my head, it starts to happen quite quickly in Dutch. Maybe that is because my mathematical brain happened in my childhood in school, obviously. So it's a trained behavior. Well, you could argue so are my words, but see, I don't use math in my adult life often, where I do use words every day, all day, essentially. If I'm not speaking them, I'm listening to other people's words. Everything I hear is English. So naturally, my body and my brain slowly converted to full time English. My mom actually tells me that my Dutch is starting to sound English. Americans say that I have an accent. Well, funny enough, my own mother tongue now has an accent too. I'm not even sure which language is my mother tongue at this point. That's a good one. Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, numbers I will still resort to Dutch, but the thinking is mostly all English now. But what made this difficult in the beginning when I just started living in America? Obviously, I came from a Dutch-speaking country, and boom, overnight, I found myself surrounded by English 24/7. Here's what used to happen: you say something to me in English, I hear you, and I'm translating it to Dutch, and then my brain comes up with the Dutch answer, and now I have to translate my Dutch thoughts to English words verbally. That is how it used to be when I moved here, and it sounds like me listening and replying to you would take a minute on average. No, it was actually an incredibly fast process, but I remember that that's actually what went on in my head at the time. Um, for those of you that are wondering, I learned English from listening to The Simpsons. I've mentioned that one time before in a video, but yes, I know English only because of Homer Simpson. I'm not kidding. I never opened English books of any kind. I mean, now I read English books too, of course, but that is really how I learned the language. In Belgium, I would watch The Simpsons. I was only allowed 30 minutes of TV when I was younger, and The Simpsons were my favorite choice. It was humoring, it was uplifting to me. I could relate to it because it was somewhat realistic, but the voices are the same. You hear Homer just the way he is in America, speaking English, and all of The Simpsons, of course, not just Homer. But we get the Dutch subtitles. So I hear English, but I'm reading Dutch. Over time, my mind just naturally picked that up. So yeah, that's true, guys. That's how I learned English. But yeah, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, especially while I'm driving my big rig for work, and I think that actually helps a lot too by keeping my vocabulary alive, my ability to communicate with more words. So, but on this at the same, see, here's another reason why I actually do not want to pick up a dictionary to extend my vocabulary. I want to keep my YouTube channel plain and simple language. You know what I mean? So even people from other language areas of the world don't have to struggle with what I'm saying. That's why I keep my examples very mundane and most likely stuff that's happening in everybody's life, more or less. So it's easy to relate to it also. Reverend John Walker, sidebar. I sometimes think in an Australian accent. Okay, I'm insane, but it truly happens. So what you just said has been an idea I've been wanting to look into. Language of thought. Awesome. Me and Reverend Sean Walker, we have hours of conversations at a time too, and that is something we're going to actually work on in the future. Is we're going to have a conversation on the phone first because he has amazing ideas in his head too, and I quickly pick up on them. Like I know what he's trying to communicate some often before he even has the whole story out, and it's minds like that I can really appreciate because you're on on the same page immediately. And again, it kind of feels like less and less words become necessary, and still the whole thing comes across to me loud and clear. But yes, what we're wanting to work on in the future is to have a conversation so we can mingle our thoughts somewhat together and come out with more intense videos, more in-depth videos. So far, most of what you've been hearing is just me letting out my mind, literally out going out free. I don't have a script laying in front of me or nothing. This is just me blabbing out of my mouth essentially, but I like to stick to the topic, obviously, that I choose for each particular video. Applause from Yasmin and thank you from Reverend. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I think I'm gonna start winding down here because it's over an hour, and I like to keep my videos under an hour and a half. So, if there is one more question either of you would like to ask, I'll take one more for each, and then I'll slowly start, getting ready to head to bed too soon. I guess I haven't eaten since I came home. I'm really debating if I should try a burger on the grill. There we go. No vegetarian here. I like my burger. Yeah, it's where I'm at, it has been incredibly hot the last 7 days. I mean, by incredibly hot, we're about to hit 100 degrees in Celsius. What is that, like 33 degrees? I mean, 35. So, yeah, a burger feels about right now. And my cat is sleeping on a cat tree here. Not a care in the world. Honestly, now that I just see that, I quickly want to say it out loud. When I started working on myself, my whole life, I always had cats around me, and it always fascinated me how they can just lay down anywhere and start sleeping. Like even I cannot do that. Okay, what language do you think my cat thinks in? I think cats are very instinctual animals, and I'm not even going to limit this to cats. I want to say most animals live much more in tune with the now. They're hungry, they're gonna get up and find food. I mean, my cat, she's allowed outside. She's outside for most of the day. While I'm at work, she's outside by herself, and she loves it. Every day I come home from work and she's waiting by the door. Not like meowing like she was miserable and waiting for me all day. No, we literally come home together. I pull my car in the driveway and I see her coming running at me from afar, like, yay, we're both home. Let's enjoy some together time. Anyway, I think cats and most animals are much more in tune with the now. Like, I'm hungry, let me go eat. I gotta poop, let me go to my litter box or let me go outside. I'm thirsty, let me drink. I'm tired, nothing going on, I'm bored, let me lay down and nap. You see, they act, I don't want to say they act on their thoughts. It's almost an impulsive thing. Like they just feel it, they act on it immediately. We humans, we're more like, I'm hungry. Well, let me go to the store first. You see, like a cat can't do that. Like if they're hungry, they're gonna work on just that alone first. It's not let me take care of the dishes and go shopping and then, mop the floor and then I'll worry about eating. That's more of a human way of doing things. Yeah, the human servant is home. Yeah, the human servant. I serve the food for the cat. I pet the cat. But I know that was a joke, and I love it because I've had cats all my life, and I even learned from the cats that I had in my life. I just was mind blown how they're so at peace when they lay down and they're sleeping. They're at peace. But if they're doing that same thing outside, although it appears that they're sleeping, they are somehow very alert still. That's their hunter's instinct that's on standby. That's their survival instinct on standby. They know there's animals out there that will hunt the cat. They know there are tiny little things that they can catch, like birds, mice, whatever. So yeah, I learned that peaceful state from a cat. Like, if you've owned cats, you know what I'm talking about. You can pick up a cat and it makes you feel a way of peacefulness inside. So, I mean, I'm talking here. My voice is pretty loud, and my cat is. I can literally touch her paw right here. She's just completely passed out. She's used to my voice. She's used to my presence, and that came to me from cats as well. Once I had a cat, and it was comfortable with me. It was mutual peace. Like we respected each other. So yeah. So cats are awesome. They are like the firstborn in the family, like a crown prince or something. Yep. Mm-mm-mm. Yay, the human servant is home. Was nice having a little chat. Yasmin, take care. Sending blessings, Reverend Sean. So, sounds like everybody said their piece for the night. I'm going to sign out too. If you like the videos, guys, if you have suggestions on topics that you would like me to speak on in the future, by all means, leave them in the comments later. Please like the videos. Please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Enjoy the rest of your evening. It was nice to chat here with Aiden and you, wishing you peace and health. That was a comment for you, Yasmin. Good night, guys. I will see you in the next video.